Good morning, students of class 9. Welcome back to the online classes now. Let's do history. I hope you are studying properly at home, going through your online classes every day. Today we'll do peasants and farmers. Let's continue. We have not finished so far. We have reached 2.2, the wheat farmers. The wheat farmers of America. Actually, they were the white settlers, and they pushed the American Indians towards the west. Number one, from the late 19th century, there was a great increase in wheat production in USA. There was a great wheat production has increased. Great increase in wheat production in USA. At the same time, the urban population was also growing rapidly. Number two, the demand for food grain and price rose, encouraging farmers to grow more. So as the population was growing and there was a great demand for food grains, when there is a great demand, the prices will also rise definitely. So this encouraged the farmers to grow more wheat. So they cut down the trees, the grasslands were turned into cultivated areas, and they started growing wheat, pushing the Red Indians towards the west. So now, number three, the spread of railways. Not only that, the railway lines were laid down. The spread of railways from wheat growing areas, from central part of America, from wheat growing areas to the eastern coast where they had settled in the beginning for export, made easy by train. So they have constructed railway lines. Railway lines were laid down, and the train carried the wheat from wheat growing areas from central part of America to the eastern coast where harbors and ports were there, and from there export to European countries took place. So the railway lines or trains or the transportation by train made it very easy to transport wheat from wheat growing areas to the port areas near the seashore. So now, number four, during First World War, the world market boomed. Why? Do you know? Because we have learned previously, Eastern Europe was producing food grains, and once the war started, the food grains were supplied by Russia, America, and even Australia, Canada. So during war, the eastern part of Europe was at war, and they stopped growing food grains. So there was a shortage, and at the same time Russia also got engaged in the war, and the food grain supply from Russia also cut off, and it was the chance for the American farmers to grow more food and export to European countries. So you can see that during First World War, the world market boomed, means there was a great demand for food grains, especially in European countries. So the Americans and Australians, they produced huge amount of food grains and exported to European countries. That's why it is called the world market boomed. There was a great demand. Now number five, at that time US President Wilson, US American President, his name was Wilson at that time, he was the president, called upon farmers. So president called upon the farmers to respond to the need of the time. There is a need of the time is to grow more food and export so that we can earn more profit. So Wilson called upon the farmers, encouraged the farmers to respond, means to grow more food grains and respond to the need of the time. Need of the time means the European countries wanted food grains as Russian supply to Europe were cut off during war. Russian supplies, not war, supply was war. Supply name singular hai. This is singular, so it was. So as the Russian supply to Europe was cut off during the war. The Russia was at war at that time, so the supply was cut off. So naturally, it was the Americans who came to the scene, and they produced wheat and sold to the European market. Therefore, Wilson said, not only encouraged, he said, plant more wheat. Farmers, my countrymen, plant more wheat. Wheat will win the war, Wilson said to his farmers, countrymen. Grow more wheat. Wheat will win the war. What does it mean? Wheat will win the war. So wheat will win the war means, how can the soldiers fight in their empty stomach? They needed food to fight. So grow more food grains. The soldiers and the European citizens, they wanted more food grains. So grow more, as much as you can, so that we can export and earn the profit. In 1910, about 45 million acres of land in USA was under wheat. So during 1910, 45 million acres of land was under wheat cultivation. These 45 million acres of land, it was actually the forest and the grassland. They were converted into agricultural fields. They have destroyed the forest and the grassland. The ecosystem was destroyed. But they produced food grains. Initially, the land produced good crops. But as the fertility of the soil decreased, they proceeded further and they cut down trees and they started growing food crops. So in this way, they destroyed the forest areas and the grasslands. So, but the production increased and they earned a lot of money during that period. So that's we'll continue in our next class to be continued. What happened after that? So how this land turned into a dust bowl. We'll talk about that later on. So that's all for today. We are doing 2.2. You go through this. In your book also you have, but this I made it short and it will clear for you, so that you don't have to go through everything. It will be difficult for you. So you go through this every day online portal and make it clear. So you do not waste your time. That's all for today. Thank you for watching the video. So we'll meet in the next class.